Thank you everybody for joining our second webinar. And I'm just going to give a little briefing. As we all know, we are discussing here how to elevate our D2C brands to the top. And as we all know, D2C brands are direct to consumer brands, which cut out the middlemen. These are brands that would directly go to the consumers without having any middlemen. So over here, there are a few things that we're going to discuss, and we are going to have certain pointers in the presentation, which have factors like how you prioritize your delivery seamlessly without having your consumer to worry about it. How we are going to deliver high-end products, the right goods, the goods that consumers are paying for, without having any counterfeit involved in between, how we are going to curb the counterfeit. These are some of the pointers we are going to discuss. Also, how to bring about a strong D2C brand identity. These are the factors that we're going to discuss here, and we'll take the questions at the end of the webinar. So I think, Vikas, you can please go ahead.
Thank you, Kritika. Firstly, welcome everyone. Good morning to the folks who are just joining us from, I think, the US and the American region. Good afternoon to the folks from the European region, and I think we have some folks from Asia as well. So good evening to them. So today our topic is in how to elevate your D2C brand and make sure you reach to the top. D2C brands have, basically this is a topic, which has actually caught and has been doing really well since the last few days. And especially along with your chat GPT, etc. There's one more hot topic that which people really want to understand and discuss about. And we've seen D2C brands, D2C as a market itself pick up a lot in the last few months, specifically post-COVID. So today we are going to talk specifically about how D2C brands can elevate themselves and reach to the top level. Before that, a little bit about my organization. So I'm founder and CEO at Acviss. Acviss is basically a company which ensures there are no counterfeits to the supply chain, and we can ensure there's complete trust in the supply chain, be it online supply chain or offline supply chain. Right? We've already protected more than 2 billion products till date, and we've been growing at an average of 60% year on year. We already work with more than 80 plus brands across the globe, and we also won pretty much prestigious awards from various regions across the globe. Personally, I have a degree in entrepreneurship, venture capital, and technology from the University of Maryland. I'm an engineer by background, but I've worn multiple hats throughout my journey. I previously founded 2 startups as well, one into knowledge networking space and one was in the retail analytics space. So I bring in a good amount of experience from various segments and also understand a lot about, especially through the current organization, about a lot about D2C, the brands itself and branding aspects as well, right? So now let's jump into the topic straight away and see how we can, understand more about how we all can help you elevate your brand to the next level. So to do that, what we've done is we've taken a hypothetical brand called Urbanian, and this is a youth apparel brand. So just to give a bit background about this particular brand, it's a brand focusing on the youth, a very modern appeal, more like a H&M, etc. kind of a brand. And instead of going to a typical route of supply chain, excuse me, they have basically gone through a D2C channel, right? So this is a brand focused on blending traditional and contemporary fashion, and of course, selling products to e-commerce platforms, mainly appealing to the youth of both genders, and even if today I don't think it's fair to just say 2 genders, multiple genders across the globe, right? Also disrupting traditional retail channels, by offering high quality products at lower prices, which we've seen a lot of successful brands do of late, like Zara, H&M, for example, right? And the idea is to reduce the costs and increase margins by cutting out, the supply chain, the middle part of the supply chain, which does consume a lot of the capital in terms of, and take erodes away a lot of margins from the brand itself. So the advantage any D2C brand, or in this case, for our example brand has, is by selling directly to consumers, they eliminate a lot of these intermediaries. They're able to establish a better customer relationship because these brands are the ones who are talking directly to the consumers, and of course are aware about how consumers like the brand, are able to give them multiple touch points, and of course they have more control over the experience, right? I mean, if I have my own website, or if I'm selling on various e-commerce marketplaces, I have this good control where I can definitely be able to create a differential experience for my consumers, right? Which a typical brand may not be able to do. But D2C itself is seeing a lot of competition these days, right? And along with competition, we're also seeing a lot of counterfeiting that's happening. And our example brand is something which is also affected by counterfeiting. Plus, with these problems, Urbanian, our example brand, was able to grow well, but now it's hit a plateau. Now it's basically the growth has saturated. They're finding tough competition. They're not able to differentiate themselves much in the market. And now they basically hit a ceiling where they're not able to grow much. So what can Urbanian do about this, right? So one, I mean, it's a very basic thing, and a lot of us sometimes forget. But if there are two pillars about D2C, it's customer and product, and that's for any brand for that matter, right? So especially for D2C brand, your customer experience is the key, right? How do you ensure that you deliver an everlasting customer experience to your consumers, right? To be able to basically provide a way to be able to ensure that they have, you're able to resolve their pain points and understand their needs better, right? Very important that you're able to create a seamless experience. Now, it could be offline, could be online. Very importantly, these days, an omni-channel experience. That you want to be able to ensure that if a customer is on a website, but for some reason ends up going to a store of yours, he should be able to continue with the experience where he left online, right? Plus, very important, what consumers demand these days is personalized recommendations and an experience wherein the purchasing itself, the buying of the product itself is very smooth. It's frictionless. And we've heard about one-click checkout on Amazon and the wonders it did for Amazon. So similar experience is what customers demand of brands, or especially D2C brands. So what was recommended and what we recommended Urbanian or a brand similar to them could do is ensure that they have a strong omni-channel presence. I mean, it's very important that you have an online presence, but you're able to also create that touch and feel for a consumer, especially for a clothing brand. It's very important that people are able to experience the material itself, the brand itself, the product itself. So very important that along with the website, the brand also has various touch points in which modern day youth or the millennials or the Gen Zs can engage, right? Especially having an app, a gamified app for that matter, wherein, not just, browsing through the products, but also be able to interact and engage with the product is what is needed. And that's what was recommended. Very important, like I mentioned, that we should be able to merge the channels, both online and offline, and to create a seamless omni-channel experience for the consumers. So right from when they start buying, whether it be in a store, or whether it be on your website, when it starts from buying from there all the way to purchase, you should be able to create a seamless experience. Excuse me. Also using modern technology like AR, be able to provide a differential experience. We've seen brands where they've been able to use AR in helping consumers visualize how they would look in a particular product. For example, we've seen a lot of sunglass brands or clothing brands, jewelry brands as well, create this experience where I can experience the product on me without actually having it on me, right? So that's something which which a lot of modern day brands could actually leverage. And we've seen great improvements in technology. We have this, people talk about AI and how you can create a conversational two-way channel between you and your consumer, where the consumer feels actually it's talking to a human, right? So that's something which has actually taken up, and I believe that's one more thing which a lot of brands can rely upon and use to their advantage. A very important element which a lot of brands forget and don't pay attention to is the packaging. And something very important, because that's when you are able to, uh, that's when your product is in your hands of your consumers, right? And that's when they're able to interact with your product. So you want to make sure that even your packaging talks to the consumer, right? You should be able to engage your consumer through the packaging as well. Make it design, I mean, make it vibrant, make it catchy. Also provide elements in which the consumer can interact with the product, some in some digital format, in which you're going to talk about it in a while, right? What also is very important is be able to cater to your consumers, customers, in ensuring that you have the right product for them whenever they need it, right? Something which a brand like Zara has done, for example, right? With their supply chain, they're able to actually gauge what the consumer needs and be able to provide that product to the market, within no time. So that's very important, being able to ensure that you have the right product, whatever the consumer is demanding at the right time. If not, the attention span these days is very less, and then consumers lose interest in the brand, given that there are a plethora of other brands as well, right? Distribution through e-commerce, platforms, may not be able to allow you to engage with your consumers. So we've seen for a lot of our brands, for example, basically a lot of our brands have not been able to engage with the consumers because Amazon or maybe even other marketplaces do not provide you the details of the end consumer which is buying the product, right? So you need to be able to ensure that you figure out a way in which you can actually engage a consumer, even if it's on a marketplace. So for, a lot of these marketplaces are going to hide the end consumer from you. They're going to ship it directly to them, or a different methods. They're going to use different methods, but there's no way for you to get that data. So it's very important for a brand to figure out how to engage the consumer if you're only selling on a marketplace like an Amazon or eBay or a different marketplace for that matter, right? And one of the methods could be, of course, developing your own website as well, which sometimes, of course, is difficult to market. But I think that's a good start. If you're able to create a brand on a e-commerce marketplace, that may help you piggyback and grow the traffic on your website as well. And we'll talk about how you can improve your website sales as well, in a while. One of the interesting thing which, our example brand and what we recommend could be done is to be able to allow the consumers to customize the product. So it's a psychological fact that when a consumer is actually engaged with the product or is involved in the product design or the development of the product, he or she is very likely to buy that. And not just that, he or she is going to influence the product as well, right? He's going to influence the sales of the product because he's going to like talking about the fact that he or she was the one who made it, right? So it's very important that you're able to figure out a way in which you can enable your consumers to be able to engage with the product, or let them design the product themselves and help you co-market it or co-brand it. And we've seen a lot of brands do that quite well, provide a way for consumers to come on the website, customize a few things, and then, put their name on it and be able to sell it as well, right? So let me go back one slide. Yeah. So one more thing which I said, it's very important for D2C brands to be able to understand the customers better, right? So it's also the need of the hour to be able to get right data about your consumer or your customer for that matter. So you understand your consumers better, you're able to create the right products for them, and you're able to, of course, stay on top of your competition. So given that, marketplaces sometimes do not offer that, right? Do not offer you data, do not offer you any insights about who's buying your product, where they're buying it from, etc. And so a lot of this data is missing, right? So one of the things which, Urbanion or we would help them do is provide them a technology which will enable any of their consumers to interact with the product digitally. The fact that everybody now has a smartphone makes it quite easy, right? So, people can take out the phone. If there's a label on the product, like we see here in the picture, they'll be able to interact with the product, and not just do that, be able to understand the product. Or, sometimes some of our brands have even offered them points for that matter, or loyalty points for that matter, right? So rewards is something which you can offer as well. So some of these things are what, could be done to be able to create this digital channel between you and the end consumer if you're selling on various e-commerce marketplaces as well, right? Very important is we'll also have real-time information about your customers. Of course, given the fact that they are sharing this data with you, you'll have real-time information about your consumers. You'll be able to understand them better. you will be able to create a channel now where you can talk to them, interact with them, and get to know them better as well. So in this line, we do have two products as well. One is Bonus and one is Assist. Bonus is a product which is ensuring that you're able to provide, rewards or a digital interaction for your consumers. And Assist is basically a product which enables you to provide a digital warranty system for your customers or consumers. So let's say if you had a product which was into the space of electronics, Assist would be a product which will help you create a digital interaction between you and your customers. So now let's go back and understand how you could, help. Let's say if you did have a social media presence, or if you had, excuse me, if you had a website, how you can leverage that and how you can get more traffic to your brand. And one of the main and very important thing, and it's a no-brainer, it's about, leveraging social media and digital marketing to be able to do that. It could get expensive, especially given the fact that if you're bidding for a word on Google Ads, so it sometimes could be well sought out. Then of course you might be paying a lot more money. So to be able to fight that, it's very important that you have a very strong content strategy. So to be able to create enough content around your brand or your product for that matter, so that helps you rank high without having to actually pay for a lot of these keywords, etc. So that's very important to be able to create the right kind of content. And it's very important that as a brand, you're present on various social media channels, be it TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook maybe, and various other channels as well. And especially all of these video e-commerce or video social media channels, it's very important that you are well present on them. We've seen people, or we've seen influencers being able to get good amount of demand to a lot of these brands through Instagram and TikTok itself. So it's very important that you're able to have a strong presence on these various platforms. And of course, be able to do a little bit of SEO on your website or your various other assets on online is also very important, that you're able to drive traffic to your website. So one more very important, or one more interesting thing which you could do is be able to get your users to generate some content for you, and they could basically get dressed in one of your signature styles and post a video talking about it, and reward them for that. That way they'll get some of their relatives or friends also to look at your brand and your videos, etc. Plus they'll help, basically they are ending up being an influencer for you. So being able to get some of the users to be able to contribute to your content is something which you can use as a strategy as well. And influencers is a double-edged sword. I say that because sometimes some influencers may attract a lot of negative publicity to you, negative PR. So it's very important when you choose your influencer, you choose the right influencer. We've seen some influencers even sell fake products. So if they're caught selling a fake product, and if they were marketing your brand itself as well, it was very important that you do your due diligence so that doesn't happen, right? If they were selling a fake product, and then your brand would then also get tarnished because they were influencing or they were marketing your brand as well. So make sure you choose the right influencer and do your due diligence before you approach an influencer and do work with them. Also, a lot of things which I think modern day brands are very good at doing is giveaways and contests, which we've seen a lot of these brands do. I think that's still relevant in terms of getting users to engage with your brand, talk to your to engage with your people in your office, or engage with the customers that are there in your stores, or even the staff that you have in your store. Right, it's very important that you're able to engage with these people who are actually engaging with your customers as well. So not just engage with the customers, also engage with your employees who are actually the last touch point to the customers. And the talk of the town these days is sustainability, right? And ethical practices, and their carbon footprint, and global warming, right? So as a brand, we also want to make sure you send the right message. So to be able to stand for these causes, I think it's relevant, especially for the young generation, the current generation, where they see you as a modern brand. They want to feel good to be associated with you. So it's very important that you develop something, or you are part of uh, a movement where you're actually contributing in ensuring that you are driving sustainability and you're following ethical practices. End of the day, people want to be proud of what they are wearing or what the kind of brand they use. So it's very important as a brand also you send the right message that you are a brand which stands for the right things, and you will do right things as well. So what has Urbanion done as an example, in this space, in space of sustainability, right? So what they've done, or what we recommend they could do, is basically eliminate all plastic for that matter, right? And also we've seen a lot of brands, basically pack, paper cover or a paper bag, and they could then offer rewards for the consumers to return the paper bag back to the store or to the brand. And we've seen a lot of these, this practice has already been done, but I think this is something which is also still very much relevant, right? One more very important thing and very current and modern is being able to use recycled materials for the products. We've seen a lot of brands do that these days, and they've been able to get a lot of PR just for doing that, right? If you're able to, make something from recycled materials, could be a pair of shoes. If you're into, stationery, it could be, a book or a diary, which could be made from these recyclable materials. We've also seen clothing these days being made out of recyclable materials or from the wastage, from the waste which was picked up from the oceans across the globe, right? So that itself would help you create a lot of buzz around your product. We've seen, and this is something which our example brand has done as well, right? Being able to use recycled materials for making the products. Also, partnering with local communities, NGOs, women health self-help groups, and providing them opportunities, especially in the poorer regions, and that also sends the right message. And this is what our example brand has done as well, so that they're able to get and stand for something, right? It's very important that you stand for, removing poverty across the globe. And that is something which Urbanion as a brand is also sending a message out. So which a lot of these, a lot of the customers of Urbanion would be proud, talking about. So these are the talking points which Urbanion or Urbanion's customer would definitely be talking to their friends about. So another important topic is, as a D2C brand, when you do grow in popularity, counterfeiting and counterfeiters are across and waiting for you and trying to, take away the profits or the margins or the sales that you've been working hard on, right? We've seen that happen quite easily, especially to D2C brands, because selling counterfeits online is, much easier than doing it offline, right? And we've seen that, counterfeiters across the globe, especially countries like China, Turkey, are able to easily find or make replicas of your products and sell them online. And it could be a website in your own home country itself, right, which is selling fake products. So it's very important that as a D2C brand, you also think about counterfeiting and brand protection right from day one, because this is eventually going to happen to you, wherein if you do grow as a brand, counterfeiters will be looking at that and trying to eat away from your sales and customers. So what can counterfeiting do to you as a brand, and why you should be worried about it? So what is customer safety? Imagine a customer of yours buys a fake product, assuming it's your brand and your product, but obviously the fake product will never adhere to the standards which a real product has to. So a lot of these would mean sometimes that the fake product uses products which could be carcinogenic. Sometimes they could use harmful chemicals. And obviously these are not safe to use. If it's an electrical product, it could also mean that sometimes the user could end up getting a shock, or electric shock for that matter, right? So it's very important that as a brand, you're aware of the fact that when people do make counterfeits, it's a huge risk to the consumer that is buying your product, assuming it's your product, but it's a fake, right? Which also means now that it would affect your brand reputation as well. So if I were to buy a product, assuming it was yours, and didn't turn out to be of the same quality as I expected it to, it would then obviously mean that I would think again before buying it the second time. So it's very important that you are aware of the fact that brand reputation is also something which could affect your brand in case there are counterfeiters looking at counterfeiting your brand. Financial losses, I don't think I need to talk about it. the fact that somebody is making a fake product of yours and selling it in your brand name, and consumers are buying it assuming it's your product, you're losing out on the sales and the margins and all that, mainly because counterfeiters are eating away into your market. And when counterfeiters, of course, counterfeit your product, and they copy your, it could be your copyright, your trademark, etc. It's a natural loss to you, right? As a brand, you need to be aware of that. You need to be able to stop that so that nobody else sees that. Because if one counterfeiter is able to do it well enough, it does give a lot of strength to other counterfeiters. So it's really important that you're able to stop the first counterfeiter itself, so that it doesn't follow with other counterfeiters trying to copy your brand or your product. So it's very important that you invest in a brand protection solution as a D2C brand, and mainly because what I've already mentioned, to be able to protect your brand, and not just that, grow your brand as well. So when you as a brand focus on brand protection, as a consumer, a lot of consumers do see it in a positive sense. They ensure, or other consumers believe, that you're a brand which is very keen on ensuring that you're protecting your customers. So it becomes very important that you send this message to your customers that, hey, we're very serious about counterfeiters copying our product. Hence, we are investing in a brand protection solution, right? And it also ensures that, of course, your IP stays with you. The quality of your product is maintained. You are away from lawsuits, which could follow for the fact that you didn't give the right product, even though it wasn't you, it was a counterfeiter who did it. And this will also help you stay ahead of the competition, right? Because you're, like I said, you're sending a message saying, hey, I am willing to take care of my customer. So a lot of anti-counterfeiting technologies available across the market. These are some of the few which I'm talking about here. You could invest in a security label, and there are a lot of security anti-counterfeiting technology available in the market. There is a new, not new, it's an old technology, but it's getting affordable now, which is NFC. So NFC is a technology which enables your consumers to interact with your product digitally through a smartphone. And it's a near field technology, which means it only works with a very small distance, very close proximity to your product, right? So this could also help you authenticate the product. And blockchain is something which is coming up, and it in itself cannot stop counterfeiting, but it can aid in stopping counterfeiting and ensure that your products or your data is protected. And you can build counterfeiting measures on top of blockchain as well. So as a company at Acviss, we also have solutions across the space. We have Certify, which is basically a non-clonable technology, which can be used on your product. We have Provis, which is basically an online brand protection solution, which ensures that whenever you are selling online, we are able to protect your product from being counterfeited online. We're able to protect anybody from impersonating your brand online. It could be even on a social media channel, or it could be a fake website. We've seen people come up with a fake website, but just changing a part of the domain, right? So we could help you protect from that as well through Provis. And our last solution is Origin, which is a blockchain-based solution which helps you trace the product through the supply chain. So if you were selling the product from your store, your warehouse, directly to a consumer, or to a store in any of your cities, we'll be able to trace the product right from the manufacturer all the way to the consumer, and provide the consumer basically a provenance and a trace of the product itself, and as to how the product came to them, right? Be able to create a story around that itself, be able to tell the story, the fact that this particular thread came from this region, or this particular button came from this region. So a lot of that can be embedded in this, be able to create a nice story around that, and be able to add to your marketing elements, be able to engage your customers more. So to summarize, very important that as a D2C brand, you stay ahead of your competition, and there are various ways to do it, and which we've gone through a few of them. Don't hesitate to look at new technologies, especially as a D2C brand who's selling online. You need to be aware of the new technologies and be able to adapt them, and be able to involve or include them in your solutions and in your ways of engaging with your customers. And this is how you can make sure that you stay relevant to the brand, or rather to the consumer, and attract new customers as well. We've seen D2C brands, for that matter, if you're not able to innovate, You've seen D2C brands, die very well, die quickly, for that matter, because, like I said, attention span of a consumer is very less, and people move on to innovative and new things quite easily. Especially, so it becomes very important that you're able to stay ahead of your competition. You stay ahead of yourself as well, so that you're able to bring out something new to your consumers, so they have something new to look at, and so hence it becomes easy for them to buy your product. What Urbanion hence has done is it's created a seasonless collection, which is designed to be versatile and timeless, rather than following the typical fashion cycles. So, which also promotes sustainability and less wastage, right? So, imagine to be able to create a seasonless collection of clothing, right? Which means that people are now able to buy and wear something which they can use throughout the seasons, and are able to, which also means there's less spending and less wastage of products, which also improves the sustainability, right? And also what Urbanion has done is collaborated with local artists and designers to create limited edition clothing, which can basically to help the local talent and create a buzz and offer some exclusivity. So this has helped them engage their customers better, because now, of course, like I said earlier, they're also involved in the process of creating the brand or creating the product. So I will leave all of you with this quote here. So remember, success in the D2C world is not about being composite, but rather about constantly striving for greatness and providing exceptional experiences for your customers. So that's about it. I will leave the floor open to any questions now. And you can either unmute yourself and ask the questions, or you can put it on chat, and we'll be happy to answer them. So I have one question here, which is sent to me, which basically is asking about how do we ensure that consumers use the technology that is used on the product itself. Okay. Yeah, so that's a good question. How do you ensure that, let's say you are using an anti-counterfeiting technology, right? So how do you ensure that your consumers are aware of it, and able to use the technology to verify your product? So yes, the way it can be done is, of course, it involves you as a brand enabled in a way so that you're able to engage your consumers and making them understand that this is something which you're doing for them so that they are able to now verify the product, which means you need some kind of PR and marketing from your end as well. You probably have to create some buzz around it. We've seen brands basically do simple things like, issuing out flyers in their stores, creating social media campaigns around it, or even on their websites, they basically created a campaign educating their customers about these anti-counterfeiting technologies itself. We have a question which was sent out to Kritika, which she has posted here. How do we understand that counterfeit sales are taking place on marketplaces? What should we be looking out for? Yeah. So counterfeiting is happening on various marketplaces, and I think that's the reason why Amazon is very particular about doing something about it. They've launched this new product called Amazon Zero, and they've also launched other products. So that's about one marketplace. We have other marketplaces as well, like eBay, and in various other regions we have, in India, for example, we have Flipkart, and there are various other marketplaces, right? So while Amazon might be doing a bit, and some of the other marketplaces might be doing their bit, but as a brand, you need to be able to have a strategy so that you are able to protect your product across the various marketplaces. So it's very important that you are, looking out for, any kind of a fake listing that could be out there on different marketplaces. Or it could even be a fake product which has been posted, but it's basically it's your brand name, but a product which has been posted on various marketplaces, right? And and not just that, we've seen even cases where people have used social media for that matter, Twitter or a Facebook link, where they posted links on Facebook and Twitter where they've talked about their, where counterfeiters have basically posted links taking them to a fake website, but they made it look like it's actually coming from the brand. It's very easy to create a Twitter handle or a Facebook page, which is similar sounding name, right? So we've seen brands do that. Sorry, counterfeiters do that, and very important as a brand, you're able to look out for that. Fortunately, we have tools like Provis, which can help you address that, which can help you bring down cases of such occurrences. If you're interested to know about Provis, definitely we could reach out to us, and we'd be happy to share that. Do we have any more questions? I think we're just 2 minutes away from ending this session, so we just wait for 2 more minutes before we wind up. In the meanwhile, I will like to know from you, and get some feedback about this presentation or the session. Did it meet your expectation? And if it did, or if it did not, what else would you like to know more about, so that whenever we do our next webinar, we'll make sure that we include that in our webinar. So do let us know your feedback. If you would like to send us an email, please do send us an email as well. I'm just typing out my email in the chat box here. So you can send out an email as well, and letting us know, if there's any particular topic you're interested in, which you would like us to talk about.
Because
yeah,
it's a good presentation. I liked it. My question is more similar to what Kritika had addressed. See, there are millions of people who would like to definitely sell their products online in all possible e-commerce marketplaces. Okay, but the marketplaces are really finding it very hard during the vetting process.
Right.
Like Amazon, no matter what tools they use.
Right.
But when it comes to vetting process, whatever Oceanic team they have, they find it extremely difficult to vet the sellers while onboarding. That is where the miss happens. So do you have any advice for either for the for the e-commerce marketplace or brands, if they would like to really take a call on this and then support the e-commerce marketplace as well?
Great. Yeah, thank you so much for the question. So like you rightly said, vetting a seller on a marketplace is difficult, and a lot of times the metrics for the marketplaces is to get more sellers onboarded, right? So given they have these metrics that they are chasing after, it becomes very difficult for them to have a strong vetting process, right? So which means brands would have to probably look at protecting themselves and using methods which they can then use and take action against these sellers online itself. So brands will have to basically ensure that they're able to use tools and technologies which help them identify fakes or fake sellers and be able to then report them to the marketplace. Some of the marketplaces are good at responding to these reports. Some of them take their own time, so it's a mixed bag. We've seen various marketplaces wherein some of them are able to basically bring down these sellers right away, but some of them we've seen take their own sweet time. So it's important that we're able to be patient as well in this process. The fact that we don't have too much of leverage over these marketplaces. Good thing is there are laws being made in various countries around ensuring that marketplaces do not support counterfeiters or counterfeiting, which should now help these brands in bringing down these counterfeiters or fake sellers quicker than what was happening now. Great, thank you so much. So we are now at the end of our session. If there are no more questions, we could end the session. And thank you so much for joining in. We will be having one more webinar in a month from now. So do look out for that email and do join us in that webinar. And like I said, if there's any particular topic that you're interested in around this space, we will be happy to cover that. And you could always send out an email to the email address which I've just posted in the chat here. Thank you so much, and have a great day and a good night for the people who are joining us in the evening. Thank you.
Thank you.